So the build is pretty simple but pretty complicated at the same time. This is sort of a concept that I found a few leagues ago. Wolfio was trying it in Blood Aqueducts with a chieftain and Impulsa, and it was a good concept, and I've been wanting to try it now for a couple of leagues. So basically it's like a candle build. So the concept of the build is that you're using the Fulcrum Staff, and the Fulcrum Staff reflects all ailments back to you. So you can use this both as a benefit, and it also can be a disadvantage because of how you have to build around this staff. It's kind of really painful, but really fun staff. Very, very creative, unique. Basically, we reflect all ailments back. So that's shocks, that's chills, that's freezes, you know, all that stuff. So we have to mitigate ignites. Otherwise, we just instantly kill ourselves. So you see here the unaffected by ignite tag. That is to make sure that we are not instantly killing ourselves with our own ignite. We have to mitigate chills one way or another. Otherwise, we'll be our movement speed or action speed, sorry, will be reduced by 40%. In my case, because of Elementalist, and that is through the Winterweave Ring, which reverses our chills. So this actually makes us really fast as opposed to really slow. So yeah, we're using the chill as an advantage. And then the main annoyance here is that we have to mitigate shocks. So there's one way to mitigate shocks, which is sort of like a cheap way to do that, and that's with Impulsa. It says here unaffected by shock, but I chose to go the harder way, which is by getting corruption implicits, as you can see here. Chance to avoid shock, 25%. Chance to avoid shock. And actually I had to sort of double corrupt those myself. We got chance to avoid shock here as well. We got a harvest implicit for 15% here. And I've been trying to get another harvest implicit, but I didn't get it. I've also been trying to corrupt clusters. Ended up getting corrupted blood on that one, so that's pretty cool. But I got the last one on here. If I was to get chance to avoid shock on one more of my clusters or as an implicit from harvest, then I could drop these 3 points. And I could put those 3 points into something else, like, I don't know, some masteries or whatever. Or figure that out, since I don't actually need the resistances there at the moment. So that is the premise. What we're doing is basically we're using Divine Ire as a way to reflect shocks back on, ignites back onto ourselves, and then we ourselves are ignited. Once we're ignited, we spread our ignites to enemies within a radius of 17. So what that means is that since I become the source of ignite, I'm basically like an RF, except I'm not using RF. So I run around and ignites is spreading to a radius of 17. And then I use, in my case, I use Explode Chest to sort of explode things, and then those ignites are reflected back onto myself again. So I'm creating this sort of chain reaction where I'm walking around, I'm exploding things, and the ignites are spread back onto me. And the way that ignite works is that always the highest damaging ignite is basically what's chosen to deal damage. So you can have multiple ignites stacked onto you, but only the highest damage dealing one will be what actually deals damage. And I'm using Headhunter at the moment because yeah, I need stats, and also it's a refund belt. At this point in the league, you know, you could be using anything else, but you got to figure out your stats. Obviously, Headhunter makes you stronger and better and faster, and it's a lot of fun. But I mean, like, the build is so hard to put together that Headhunters should be like the least of your worries. This is more of a build showcase rather than a build guide, so, you know, beware. If you want to go into this, it's pretty complicated. The rest of your gear is sort of just going to look like generic stuff. I got a +2 on this one. It's not really even necessary because I'm barely ever using Divine Ire itself. So you could go for Ashes of the Stars or something like that. Although we're pretty low on life, so getting life rolls is pretty big. For the ring, I'm using a flammability ring and a mana cost of skills, so that brings it down to 3 instead of 6, which is pretty substantial. For the gloves, I'm just going for suppression. Suppression is super important, so I'm getting suppression there. That's 31% suppression. And then I got 22% suppression there. And then the rest of my suppression comes from the tree. So I'm taking 10% suppression here and another 10. And then 4, so that's 18 plus 10, 28. I'm going for Mage Bane, and I'm also going for Reflexes, so that's to make sure that I'm capping my spell suppression. I think it's pretty important in general. You can use spell suppression. I'm using this Unnatural Instinct to get a bunch of regen and to get a bunch of AoE. This radius is actually scaled by AoE. Also gives me a bit of damage there. Here I take the determination and also some armor and things like that. So we have a lot of armor. And also we path out to here, reduce mana cost of skills. This kind of stuff is very, very useful. Obviously here you got the aura stuff, damage over time stuff. Alternatively, you don't necessarily have to have ignite spread to enemies on 17 radius. You could have fan the flames as a cluster, although that's 15. Barracks respite will not work, unfortunately. So you either have to have the glove enchant or fan the flames. I also like to take nearby enemies have exposure, since you're basically killing things nearby, you know, because you have to walk close to them. And then I like to get burning brights. Burning brights I think are really important again because it scales the radius. And then enemies ignited by you have never -5 resistance, and that sort of stuff is like obviously really nice for ignite damage and whatnot. We use 2 hotheads, so that one makes this very fast. And for my forbidden jewel, I take Shaper of Winter. This makes it so instead of just a maximum of 30% action speed, I get a 40% action speed, and that's by default going to be really, really good as I walk around. It's going to be really fast. So I'll basically show Toxic Sewer on how it looks like, and then I'll show kind of, I guess, a more juice map and what that looks like. So chuck Harbinger on there. Cool. So yeah, the build is like, is pretty slow until we've reflected and ignite back onto ourselves. And I also use phase run because I'm not actually ever really clicking anything. I'm always just like holding left click and walking around and just looting, so that I get to have like the action speed from phase run up pretty much all the time, which is pretty cool. You see, we like walk up to a monster and then boom, we hit them, and then the rest of the time we're just holding left click and clicking shrines and walking around, and basically everything is igniting. I always kind of say that like shit builds will look better in Toxic Sewer, and that's pretty true, because in Toxic Sewer you don't really need big AoE, since everything is sort of close together and packed. But I mean, when you make a build like this, you're kind of like, this is more of like one of those like concept cars, right? It's not going to be like amazing in all situations. It's not the best build by any means, but it's really fun to put together, and it's a cool concept to put together as well. So that's kind of why I ended up putting it together. We're at that point in the league where, for me at least, I would like to see things that are like, or play things that are just like more concepts or more fun and whatever. And this is one of those things. So our damage is kind of reliant on the explode damage that we're dealing. So if we explode a big monster, we will deal basically huge damage. So for example, if here I explode the essences, I will now have a massive ignite reflected onto myself. So that then my damage will be huge for like 8 seconds, right? And we're hoping that we can get like another huge ignite stacked onto ourselves every 8 seconds or so. So maps that have like monster life and things like that are actually better for us, because we're able to explode those monsters, and then those monsters, basically like 40% more monster life will end up being, it'll be evened out by the mod. But like, for example, if I kill like a huge monster in those maps, it'll be like 40% more damage as opposed to a map that doesn't have that mod. So it's yeah, that's kind of how it works, the build. And it can actually do other things, like if you're doing like beyond mapping in like Promenade or whatever, it's kind of huge, because if you're using Headhunter, Shaper of Flame basically scales all that damage, because Fizz is extra, scales a lot of damage, and all the damage is coming from Fizz explosions from chest and also Divine Ire. But essentially the Fizz explosions are just gonna be, you know, yeah, popping off and whatnot. So I'll also run a Delhi map. I won't run the whole thing, but yeah, you could get an idea there, man. I already got a bombardier. He's all good, man. I already got everything I needed. No. Dude, yo, chat. Turn the volume back up, okay? I'm trying to explain something to you, so I don't have to explain it again. Listen, there's gonna be someone coming in the next 10 minutes, and they're gonna ask me for an explanation again, and I don't want to have to explain it, okay? If I have to explain this shit again, dude, I don't want to have to explain. Listen to me. Turn the volume up. Turn it up now. Okay, we'll chuck that. I'll change some passives. I think I'll take these off and put that, and I think I'll just go for just these for now. No, that's not what I want to take off. I'll take off this. 5 points, is that enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the passive tree is really scuffed, but whatever. Just want to showcase this map, I guess. So we'll go beyond, and we'll do Alva in Promenade. We have our Sextants, very nice. So yeah, I mean, this is by no means a finished build. If there's like anything that anyone has like any suggestions about the build or how to improve it and whatnot, I'm always open for suggestions and stuff, but it's just maybe a concept that I wanted to put out there so that more people could, I don't know, if you're bored with the league at the moment, you don't know what to do, this is a cool thing that you could try out. Just like as a little concept build. It's as I said again, it's by no means like the most insane build. I've played like way better builds. This thing, anything with Omni, like Omni TS, like, you know, that sort of stuff is gonna be way better than this. But I mean, this is a walking simulator, and it's a really good one too because of self chill and being able to like stack that with like Headhunter as well. I think it's really nice. It's a lot nicer in my opinion than things like Herald of Thunder. It's a lot more fun to scale, at least for me, because it's like a physical explosion and everything around you is blowing up and shit, you know. And the biggest bonus about this build is that when you do get Shroudwalker, it actually helps you, because you Shroudwalk to things and you're basically like a Flicker Strike build at that point. Because you know, you're basically like exploding everything around you. Is it better than BV though? Than my BV build? No, of course not. My BV build was insane. Leaf Shade, unfortunately, it does not make your ignites last longer. It's on the priority list of bug fixes at the moment, but it does not work currently. It's a bug. So yeah, it's, you know how like they have like a list of known issues. They have like a list of known issues, and Leaf Shade reflected ignites not lasting longer is on that list. Unfortunately. So yeah, we have to kind of wait for that. I don't think it's like on the priority list, as it shouldn't be. There's like maybe like one person that's playing this at the moment, or maybe two now that I made the build. Chill increases the duration of buffs. No, of course not. Chill is just action speed. It has nothing to do with, it's not like temp chains. It's not like temp chains, so no. Yo, the patient without div scarabs, that's crazy. That's actually wild. I didn't take flash breach, so these breaches are lasting like 2 days. I'm gonna open this one, and then I'm gonna go in Alva, and then we're gonna come back, and it's gonna be ready to go, dude. It's gonna be ready to go. $300x without HH from main blood. Well, you made this build for 300x. I feel like you can make it cheaper, right? Oh no, I went too fast. Guys, I lost my mirror. I went too fast. Anyways, yeah, I mean, you get the gist. That's kind of how the build looks, and that's how it performs. So yeah, that is the self ignite prolif bomber, basically. I suppose is what you want to call it. It's kind of like an Autobomber, right? But yeah. I'm pretty sure there's like better Autobombers out there, like this, the self-damaging cast when damage taken one is much better, like overall as a general build. You know, you can even do like simulacrums and things like that. But the biggest downside for me on one of those builds is that first, it's kind of squishy because you can't get any physical damage reduction. So as opposed to a build like this, that I know I have 4.4k life, but you know, with flasks up, and then you get like a molten shell, you're gonna have like a 10k molten shell. So there's like a lot of armor there, and then you have some evasion to make up for, you know, the hits that do come through. Also having like a decent amount of regen, life gain on kill, which helps while you're mapping. You don't have life gain on hit, unfortunately, but you could get that on a Watcher's Eye if you wanted to fit Vitality. I went for reduced extra damage from crits, Hatred flat because of Shaper of Flame. Again, the flat damage contributes towards our ignites. And then damaging elements deal damage faster is just, you know, a more multiplier for ignites. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the whole build. Do you guys think I missed something? Is there anything else that I missed, do you think, guys? Yes, Shaper fight. Herald of Thunder build, and yes, load messenger spam. The problem with the Herald of Thunder build is that it doesn't scale with Headhunter. And I really love the belt. I think it's too much fun. I think the belt is just way too much fun. I'm a HH abuser. So why the links? The links is just, you know, Molten Shell and Life Tap, cast when damage taken, increased duration. So that's because I have like a low mana pool, and I want to make 100% sure that when I do proc my cast when damage taken, it does proc. So that's why I put it on Life Tap. I use Phase Run, Empower, Enhance, and Increased Duration. You don't have to use Empower. That's just for more movement speed on there. You do want Increased Duration and Enhance. Alternatively, you don't need level 4 Enhance. You can get a level 3 and get Efficacy, I think, to getting more Increased Duration on that. But we have some Increased Duration through getting this and also getting the Unnatural Instinct there. Then we get some Increased Duration like that. Then we're using Purifying Flame, Combustion, cast when damage taken. So that's just maybe in the case that like you don't cast Divine Iron, you don't have an Ignite back onto yourself, and you do get hit. This is gonna make sure that like you get an Ignite back onto yourself. Then Flame Dash, that's an obvious one. For our auras, I use Determination, Defiance Banner, Herald of Ash, Enlighten level 4, Malevolence, and Hatred. So Hatred gives us Fizzes extra, and it also enables the Watcher Eye, which gives us flat cold, which again contributes towards our ignites because of Shaper of Flame. Malevolence, an obvious one, scale effect duration, more damage over time. Herald of Ash, again, more spell fire damage. That doesn't contribute towards your Explode Chest, the more spell fire damage, because the Explode Chest is not a spell, right? But we get 15% physical damage as extra fire, and also the Overkill. Overkill is very good with Explode since it deals a lot of damage. Defiance Banner is just to give us, you know, our stats. So I'm not exactly sure how much armor I have. I'm like 30k armor and 9k evasion or so at the moment. So yeah, I mean that's like a decent amount. And then we get like area of effect wherever we can as well. And yeah, Determination is the last aura. I mean that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it, dude. The flasks is just like whatever. We always want to go for armor evasion bases. That's really important, I think, on most of these builds. That I think armor evasion is just way too good to skip up on. I always kind of hate building around the top side of the tree. I always prefer this side of the tree because of getting a lot of evasion and armor by default. But if you're on like the top side of the tree, I always tend to go towards reflexes and mage bane because yeah, I mean suppression, evasion, that sort of stuff is really just too good. And getting at least a little bit of armor, determination, reservation, that sort of stuff, really good. So yeah, that's my little build right there. Don't make the build unless you have currency and time and whatever. But if you do, I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, all good.